We were making the final song, and I was like, I want to say mommy, and I want like to talk about our bones breaking and contorting, and there's a cacophony of strings and it swells. And then I was like, I like heard silence, and I was like, oh God, I went too far again. Everyone thinks that I'm crazy. He like turned around his chair and he was like, and just then there's a toy box that plays, and there's blood dripping, panning left, right. And I was just like, you get me.
Hello, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Dan. Yep. And we welcome to the studio a human being who is absolutely incredible, a phenomenal singer. And you're back with your second album.
I'm back.
Child Star.
Yeah.
We welcome Grace VanderWaal back to the studio.
Hello.
It's been 6 years since we've seen each other.
I'm gonna vomit. I'm literally gonna vomit. I'm gonna projectile vomit.
And you said something. You said like this is, even though we met 6 years ago and you did the show 6 years ago.
I feel like this is our first time meeting, basically.
Why is that?
Because I'm a person now. I was a person, but like, you know, there's a lot of evolution that goes on between those years.
100%.
You know?
But I gotta say, you were very wise back then.
Yeah, well, I it's so funny. I literally say I've always been me. Like, I literally came out of the womb being just like a sassy know-it-all. So always been this way, always. But, you know, I'm trying to polish it year by year. Yeah.
But growing up in this industry, have there been people that have told you you can't be yourself?
No.
So you've always been able to just be you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that people, I mean, we can get into this, like, especially with the album, obviously, it's named Child Star, and like my whole life, everyone has really, I could tell, really wanted this narrative from me of this very like a caricature of what people think child stardom is. I think more for entertainment gratification of like the white men in suits and saying, you got to take off your clothes to sell something, honey. I'm like, this is, you know, fucking people have social media. People are aware of that. It's not like a cartoon like that, but it does still exist. And that's the more interesting conversation because it's much more subliminal, nuanced, positive reinforcement, things like that. I always say the strongest control is making someone think that they want to do something.
Damn.
You know? And I think that also is just a more nuanced, interesting conversation in general. But
wild. Because that is the real manipulation for financial gain, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not this like...
And also even beyond that financial gain, I think that like, again, in this album, obviously it's named Child Star because I just thought that was a really like polarizing, striking title. But in general, it's very like a golden child archetype of you get reaffirmed for these qualities that you think make you special. I'm so mature. I'm so strong. This is what makes me a special child is I don't cry. I can handle heavy topics. Like mom and dad come to me and talk to me like adult. That's what makes me special. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually kind of that exchange of weight and power. And you end up getting robbed of a weakness that's really, really important to have, like in development. So you understand what I'm saying?
100%. But are you coming to these realizations as you make an album like this, or can you only like come to these realizations and then craft something this intricate?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack with my life. I also have always just like intellectualized myself and looked at things objectively, which is probably definitely a weird trauma response, but I've always been that way, always. And I think that it's incredibly fascinating. I love thinking about a lot of these things that we're tapping into now. And I was always aware, and for a long time, I like really pushed down a lot of these feelings because these things age really badly, obviously. You start growing up and you realize that there are places that you left too soon that you needed. And then you feel the whole of that. You feel that loss and you can't go back and redo it. And I think that's a huge grievance that I started feeling. I was like, oh shit, I have some kind of almost like abandonment because I left it so soon because I was so excited to beat the race, but then there's no trophy. You're just there. And you're like, What? Why'd I do that? It's all gone. There's nothing to go back to. Anyway.
But this idea of beating a race, but who's even dictating the race and who are you racing against?
Yeah, I think again, it's just kind of that every young adult just wants to be an adult.
Sure.
You know, you feel, and that's also, I think, a weaponized concept is like, because when you're a child into more like adolescence and young adulthood, of course, you want your thoughts to be respected and you want to be strong and you want to be heard and you associate that with adulthood. So for people to then like congratulate you or commemorate you as an adult, it feels like a visibility of your voice, you know, which feels good. So I think that there is a race of like whatever you define as adulthood, which would, you know, hyper independence. You don't really see adults cry. You don't really see that vulnerability. So maybe you define it as that or whatever this archetype of freedom and voice and adulthood is, I guess, is what I felt like was the race, you know?
A race dictated by who or what? I mean, does it start this first second you win America's Got Talent? Does it start the first second you sign to Disney? What is it?
Well, I've always...
And is it a new race you're in now?
Well, there is no race. That's the thing. It's like, it's a false, and that's that realization that creates a large grievance because you realize you've, you know, circulated yourself around some sort of ultimate finish line, and there is no ultimate finish line.
And by the way, the first album was called Just the Beginning, and now we're on to Child Star. And even like, does your creative control change as it relates to music between the album 1 and album 2?
Honey, I don't even remember making that album. That's a playlist of all the songs that we made in writing sessions, basically.
But is there any part of you that like doesn't care about even owning those that catalog anymore? Because a lot of people splitting from labels recently.
Obviously, I don't own anything.
Yeah.
Okay, can I say something about that?
Sure.
This is something that's wildly misunderstood. If people are like, oh, they stole your music, again, this caricature of like the music industry and what people want it to be for this dramatic value. I mean, does it suck? Yes. Did I sign a literal contract saying that would happen? Also, yes. Like, you know, am I the happiest about it? No. But is there anyone to blame? No one did anything wrong. It's just life kind of sucks sometimes, and it's just the way it goes. Like, it's just the way it goes. Like, no one was the big bad wolf stealing Grace's music away from her. It's just, it goes that way because it's like, I explained, it's kind of like Shark Tank. If like I made a sponge or some sort of invention and then an investor, we are now you and me. It's not just me, the owner. We're a combined company, metaphorically. So all that music isn't Grace. I didn't make that. It's Grace and Columbia, whatever you're signed to, as, you know, a collaboration. Which always made sense to me. And people don't understand that. I'm like, I don't know.
Healthy though. That's like a healthy thing to come to terms with and be aware of. Because you're right, like you do sign something.
It's just logical also. Yeah. It's just literally on paper, literally.
It's like it's written down.
It's like literally written down.
But this is a clean start though. Like you wiped everything. Yeah. You also kind of went dark for a minute. Like this is a brand new you.
I would be lying if I'm coming here now and being like, oh, I'm so chill, so it goes. I obviously freaked out for a second. I was super freaked out. I was like, fuck. You have to understand, this is all I've ever done my whole life.
So leaving...
I have very little, I'm like, I'm a fucking child star. What else do I know than that? If I'm not going to do music...
Yeah, what else?
That I would be literally relearning the stones of this building.
So this is you getting dropped?
Yeah, dropped. And then I also separated from my management, and right before that, we pretty much fired everyone on the team.
So you're sitting there by yourself.
So, and that was the cherry on top, and that's when I was just like, ha. But it was a beautiful moment, because that was, I mean,
well, you need those
it was
moments.
stalling, obviously. I think anyone can fill in the dots from the outside, how that was going, you know? But I did freak out for a second, and then we wrote, me and my friend, Tiffany Stringer, this wasn't like a label, putting someone in a writer's room. We were just like, you know, making music for fun, because I make music for fun too, believe it or not. And so we were just hanging out and we ended up writing What's Left of Me. And that's when I was like, honestly, I always knew that I wasn't reaching my potential. And I was just like, this is just wrong. And I know what I want to do. And I know the people I look up to. And like, I don't like doing it this way, but I don't know how to break the cycle because I also need guidance. And What's Left of Me kind of kicked off everything because I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Fucking keep all the songs. You can fucking have, we're going to make something better and we're going to do it right, finally. And we're going to write an actual concept album and like do this thing the right way.
And What's Left of Me is a breakup song. It's your first breakup song, right?
Yeah. Huh? Yeah.
So, okay. Why was this breakup the one that left you needing to
That was
express
kind of
it?
my first breakup.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, real life.
So.
How long did that relationship last?
Quite some time.
What's that? What's quite some time? These
One or
days?
2 years.
Oh shit.
I'm there in love or relationship.
Me too.
I'm 0% like completely avoidant or 120%.
Yeah.
I am deeply attached to you.
Yeah, drowning.
I am drowning in
Yes,
it.
totally. Like,
it's overwhelming.
Yeah, fuck up to your eyeballs. No,
Yeah.
no. I'm engulfed.
I am engulfed.
Yeah.
And that also, puts you in very sticky situations. Yeah. Because you're kind of severed for this, these chains that you've made yourself of whatever reason, probably childhood and parent stuff.
Totally.
As it goes.
Dependency, somebody
dependency,
showing you love,
shit
and
like
you
that.
just like really.
And then
like,
you end up staying through shit, and you're just like, why am I even saying? I don't know, but I can't not be here. It's a crazy feeling.
So What's Left of Me starts this whole thing, and then where do you go after that? Is that when you're like, oh, I got something, let's run with this?
I was like, I got something, I'm doing something, I'm feeling something. There's a change in the tide. I was like, I'm feeling something happening. And luckily, the one person that I had hired before this crazy tsunami was a manager. So I called him after What's Left of Me, and I was just like, dude, I'm writing well. Honestly, fly me out 2-3 weeks. Like, I am gonna write an album. I can tell this is gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna do it. And that's exactly what we did. Hashtag movie moment.
the first track on this record is Proud.
Yeah.
Which begins almost like with a lullaby energy.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Crazy.
Like when something like that you
I'm
made
scared.
genuinely on your own. Yeah, because everything you have is in it.
Sometimes releasing is actually the worst part. Because at least creating, you can like live in your own fantasy world. And I'm like,
Oh.
it's all over now. It's real.
By the way, there's
Who likes real things?
Nobody. Like the
No
deep
one.
psychology
Fantasy
there.
is better.
Yes. Like
Yes.
the discussion of something potentially
It's kind of
happening
like
or
being
going
in
to happen.
limerance versus like getting to know someone. Do you know this term, limerance?
No.
Have you ever like started to get to know someone and sort of come up with a fabricated version of them that then you start obsessing over? You're creating memories with them. You're playing out scenes. You guys have lived your lives together. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe I have.
I think this is maybe a super mentally ill thing.
No, but I don't know. It's sounding vaguely familiar to something I would have done a couple years
an
ago.
obsession without the credentials, I guess. Like you don't really know them that well. No? This is not the crowd. And shooting it, I'm missing.
No, I'm imagining like you go to a restaurant, it's like you're watching the waiter bring your food, and you get the food, and it's maybe not what you expected.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you gotta pay, and then you gotta pay for it.
The fuck?
Yeah, well, I don't know about the whole pay for it. I don't know what the end of that means.
No. I'm registering what she's saying is like you have fantasies.
She has this idea
Well,
of this.
okay, fantasies is, I don't know.
You imagine and manifest a life with somebody, and
Sure.
you dream of something with somebody that you don't even really know.
Why are we talking about this again?
Limerance? Limerance?
Something about Proud?
I want to talk about Proud though. Yeah.
I can't even remember where this was going. This is going to, why fantasy is better.
Interesting.
I don't know.
But
I give up on this topic.
You do think about trying not to take up space.
Yeah.
To be humble and grateful.
Oh, loved writing that. It started with a poem of those positive words that I personally felt like were very aged badly for me, which is like humble, grateful. Grateful was huge, because I was very like America's sweetheart vibes. I was America's Got Talent's middle America, stuff like that. And I felt that. I knew that. And also, even on a personal level, like, there was a lot of shit going down in, you know, in a closer sense, and, you know, my household and stuff like that. And I just became famous. So gratitude, that word is a word that holds a lot of negativity to me, because that word tortured me for a long, long time. And actually, now that I'm thinking about what we were saying about the way that I like intellectualize things and look at it objectively, that's probably a huge component, because I had to completely separate myself from emotion, neglect, pain, grief, these terrible, deep feelings I was feeling, because how dare I have those feelings when people that I even love in my household right now are like, you know, struggling with their life. And I just practically won $1 million. Do you know what that fucking does? So it fucked me up for a long time.
How do you come to be aware of this idea that, like, there's such a dichotomy between you and, like, the reality of your home life?
Well, number one, just I'm personally interested in these topics. You can tell, obviously. I love, like, social structures and systems, also, like, historically and culturally. I love that there's a reason for things. Love that there's a reason for things. And I've always been fascinated by that. And I think also with what I went through, it is a weird, like, trauma response, because it's got to mean something. And it's almost like too hard of a pill to swallow, that you could go through something and have pain, and it's just that. It's just something that you went through. That's very unacceptable to me. I think that makes that memory much more difficult. So, like, my solution to that is making it a math problem and being like, something just has to move forward. Something has to come out of it, you know? And so I think it's partially that, and partially I think a lot of people can relate. These things end up coming to fruition in adulthood in weird ways. Relationships, stuff like that. That's when you start noticing weirdness in you, where you be like, oh.
Some people notice weirdness in them.
I can't create, you know, intimate emotional relationships with people. There's, you know, something wrong with me.
Yeah, some people choose to be, like, some people choose to live in delusion.
Some people do choose to live in delusion. But again, I'm interested in delusion. I'm interested in perspective. I'm interested in reality. I'm interested in all layers of every topic and comparing and contrasting. I think that's, you know, a provocative conversation.
I mean, everyone has their own reality, right? Because everyone has a different perspective.
Exactly. And that also goes into the abuser victim thing that I was saying, and why that is such just a completely irrelevant take. Absolutely means nothing. Bad guy, good guy, goo goo gaga? Like, what? That's so, I don't know. In my opinion, I think that's a very filed down, immature take of something that's so incredibly nuanced in that way. But I feel like everyone just wants a story. And life is not a story. It just keeps going and going. There isn't a resolution a lot, and there isn't a conclusion. And I don't know, I've made peace with that. And if anything, I'm more fascinated in conversations that have no resolution or answer. And we're just having it for the sake of studying it and taking it apart, you know?
You say the facade of fame being shattered. You talk about it recently. What does that really mean? Like, what does it mean what is the facade of fame, and what is shattering it?
I think that fame at times, this take is dwindling with, like, influencers, and, like, now you look around a room, half of those people are probably famous. You know, the word is, I think no one really knows what that word means anymore. But in a traditional sense, like, I think that fame, the idea of fame has been, like, kind of this very heavy tool for, like, kind of control and propaganda, in my opinion. And it's almost dangled in front of people's faces as this ultimate happiness and just this, you know, ultimate sense of content. And that is the one at life. Like, that is the one at life. And there needs to be a win at life for people to keep trying and to play a game, you know? And so when you view that and you get to that final boss and you realize that this is just life and there is no final boss and you're still the same person, everything is still the same. It's honestly not that glamorous. There are glamorous moments, but it's just very underwhelming. And I think that makes people go crazy because what do I look up to now?
Yeah, they've been working towards this one thing for forever.
That means that this on-earth God that I've commemorated doesn't exist at all. And that's like a huge... I never felt that way, though, luckily.
So what do you work... So you never looked up to fame? You never worked towards fame?
No, not really. But also, I was a, child. But I always... I don't know. This is why I say I was always me. Like, for no context at all, I did not have the experience or the cards to play to have this mentality. But I just always thought people were cringe. Like, even at 12. And I would just see through it and I'd just be like, you are such a sheep to the machine, dude. I don't know. I would just always feel away. And then obviously, the more experience I had and, you're meeting A-listers and doing these things, it was very that was the way that I learned life. So it didn't really hold any gravity for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What motivates you now?
Art. Truly.
So
I just want to really, I really believe in conversation and striking topics, and I think that that's what art should be made for.
You did call Brand New the most important song you've ever written in your life.
Yes.
Why is that?
For exactly what we're going into now of the exploration of a topic where there is no right or wrong. And I think especially I knew that I wanted to go into my relationship with womanhood and sexuality and how that got so fucked up, honestly, being a child star. And I knew that that is an incredibly fragile and personal topic that I was not taking lightly. And I really, honestly, it was healing even for me to do justice to myself.
So what's the meaning behind the song?
Well, I heard it in a dream at first, believe it or not. And I still have the voice memo from it. And I heard this thing in a dream, and then I woke up and I ran and I recorded it, and it was doom, 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 strings plucking that. And then the words are super gruesome. I don't even know if guys, I heard it in a dream, but it was all,
what?
Let blood drip off my fingers, drain myself of everything that knows you, and then maybe I'd be brand new. And I heard that in a fucking dream. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. And then we started writing it, and it turned into a prayer because also, again, I had been brainstorming this song for weeks, randomly on the subway. I'd think of something. There was a lot of poetry that I was writing. And I thought of Eve. Also, huge disclaimer, this isn't really a religious commentary. I more took it strictly as a storytelling symbol. So just looking at it objectively as a story. And I thought of the whole well, what was she wearing? And I thought of Eve first to sin, essentially. She it was always her fault. It was always her fault. And I was like, wow, okay, now there's something there too. And then it turned into this prayer. I think it's really cutting sometimes, children's just simplicity. Have you ever heard a kid just say something so simple and kind of proud?
Yeah.
I loved the line of you tell me I'm great when I didn't cry and I didn't even ask for anything. And it's you really think, and then you hear it and you're like, oh, honey, there's something going on here. And there's kind of this desperate simplicity that I think is really striking to me. And so I liked the idea of like almost from a childlike perspective, asking God if she can stay in girlhood. Because I don't want, like, you know me, I'm good, and I don't want to be lustful or sinful or dirty or woman or any of these things in this sense. I just want to be me. I don't want this transformation. I'm not like, you know me, because there is this robbery of identity. There's this separation of like, now you represent these things. You know what I'm saying? You're no longer a human, you're a walking symbol. You symbolize something, your existence. And there's a robbery of identity there. And that's scary, to approach this imminent death of who you are.
Who is in the room with you when you're doing this?
I made a lot of the album with this man called Aaron Kaneda. And he's amazing. But I mean, and you know why he was amazing? Because a lot of these things that I was saying, you either get it or you don't. And especially in the early stages. Because I'm talking to you now where like a lot of this has been like flushed out and everything. And so we were making the final song. And I was like, I want to say mommy. And I want like to talk about our bones breaking and contorting. And then there's a cacophony of strings and it swells. And then I was like, I like heard silence and I was like, oh God, I went too far again. Everyone thinks that I'm crazy. He like turned around his chair and he was like, and just then there's a toy box that plays. And there's blood dripping, panning left, right. And I was just like, you get me.
Wow.
You get me. Anyway.
It's wild because it's real.
It's very, very real. And it's very, very, and also like even with the womanhood stuff, I'm very like dissatisfied and borderline personally offended with a lot of the representation of these like systems I'm describing. I hate the whole, now I've overcome this and I am strong, girl boss, sexy, taking over the world. For the vulnerability of this album, I have felt a responsibility to feel strong. And I think a lot of women feel that because it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. But like, I don't think that some things happened for a reason. And I think that I wish that a lot of things didn't happen to me and it didn't need to happen.
Like what?
And I don't like a lot of sexualization online and just harassment and torture I honestly endured. And I think that there was sort of this I felt a shift into young womanhood where I am now sort of like a free-for-all dumping ground of just hatred. And that's why also in Brand New, I'm not the mother of your loss. I'm not the sister of your lust. Because I always felt like I was just kind of this symbolic thing for people to just throw their mother wounds. I was like kind of this like, like an it. I'm just like this shape-shifting symbol that you hate of your middle school first crush and your mother that told you were nothing and I am that. And it's because it is the inhumanization of women. Like I said, you become a symbol. And I reject that. I even reject the narrative of like a goddess and stuff like that. I think that is on the same trajectory of major, shame and negativity. I think that's on the same realm because you're in both ways. You're still dehumanizing and I'm not magic. You know what I'm saying? Am I getting something? I was like, that was my moment in the studio. Oh God, I went too far.
No. You're genuinely making sense, and your take is fantastic. Yeah. Okay, but with all that in mind, so like, okay, what is the meaning of baby doll?
Oh, baby doll. Okay, with all of this being said, I think that there also is a sense of like freedom and liberation in the album, where if I want to have fun, let me have fun. If I want to feel sexy, God damn it, you better let me feel sexy. I've deserved that. You know what I'm saying? Baby doll, we just made for fun. We thought me and Tiffany Stringer actually wrote What's Left of Me with her, just a friend. I was like, let's get together, let's do it again, let's run it back, let's spin the block. And
Is Baby Doll like an alter ego?
yes. Aw, you get it. Yeah, exactly. Baby doll was like, I was like, we should write for who we become when we're like wasted and you like wake up the next morning and you like, totally cringe. And I feel like I become a very like self-absorbed diva, baby doll, the bouncer. You're not gonna fucking let me in, da 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 da. And so, yeah, and we also just thought the word baby doll was really cool. So that was a cool writing strategy because we wrote around the word baby doll. We chose baby doll and then started writing.
Interesting.
For the word of baby doll.
Why did it need a feature?
Good question. So we're writing. Second verse kind of sucks. And we're just like, sometimes it's good to keep it moving. I don't like to harbor on something. Sometimes I can really kill the vibe of the room. And this is fun. We have the privilege to make music for a living. Like let's use it. Let's use the privilege at least and to try to have an awesome time. So I was just like, let's keep it moving. And then I revisited the song because I was like, it can't be released with the second verse. It really sucks. I write it again. Honestly, this one might be worse. I was like, man, that one makes the other one look better. And I was like, I really like this song. And it's just like this like second verse. And I've never done a feature before ever. And then it was like literally like, and I was like, the heavens opened. I was like, holy shit, it's a feature. It's a feature. It's a feature. This is my first feature. I was like, it's the perfect song for a feature. And Aaliyah's interlude was the first person that popped in my mind. I've been a fan of hers for a while. And I just felt like the song was so like Hello Kitty, Harajuku, diva. It was so her. And I was just like, it has to be her. This is going to be incredible. I was like, let's get a Hello Kitty sponsorship. That didn't happen.
Not yet. Never say never.
Yeah, exactly.
The last time you came on the show, you talked about like just how long you talked about your intuition, right? And how you'd avoid all the other pitfalls of a child star. And like, very much like, I remember this conversation, you had so much confidence.
I said that last time we hung out.
Yeah, dude, you said you'd literally avoid, okay.
Oh,
you said,
boy.
as long as you listen to your intuition, this is the quote,
she is
that you will avoid the pitfalls of all the other child stars that you see, your peers. Is that reality? Have you like actually successfully been able to do that?
Arrogant statement to say.
No, highly confident.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to be
give her
confident,
that.
though. You need to be confident.
She had that going for her.
By the way, that's vital if you want to even. Come on.
That's a win. That's a win.
Huge.
Yeah, she's about to learn a lot of things,
In the 6 years.
Yeah. I think also, again, it's like this archetype of being built up. Even that was, I feel like, somewhat subliminally programmed. I think that, like, looking back, I would never even know this. But I do think that there is a slight shame of being thrown into the stockpile of like, and like not to get into conspiracy world, but like I almost wonder, do you think that's a coincidence or done without intention for child stardom to be set up, which by the way is not the fucking kid's fault. It's almost a shift of blame to only point focus to the trajectory and downfall of their career and make it this humiliating archetype of these child stars that lost their mind. How about the fucking people who abuse them? And and like now that I'm saying it out loud, I do think that that's kind of like a propaganda structure, because then it, like, for the cycle to continue and other kids, why the hell would I accept and proclaim something that borderline symbolizes my imminent demise. Why would I ever associate with myself with that? You know? So of course I'm going to be like, no, I'm different. I'm strong. I'm not a mess. I'm not going to fail. I'm confident. I'm mature. I can take it. I don't cry. I don't have feelings. And, it's like, where does it end?
It doesn't. Unless you choose to end it.
Yeah, which is basically proud. Did I make you proud? I think that is a crazy statement to say.
Why doesn't the public let some child stars grow up? Like, why do they kind of freeze you where they found you and you're always going to be seen as this one person, even though you lived an entire life?
I think for a lot of the times, it's kind of like the Madonna and the whore complex.
Explain.
Because how can you be... People can't accept the bridge between womanhood and girlhood. There's a separation. And there has to be a separation because how can I sexualize you and see you as an object if you're this girl that I knew and this human that I'm friends with and I respect? You know what I'm saying? That's why there has to be the bridge. And I think a lot of the times that is why that stands in place.
Yeah.
But other times, I think that because there are some male child stars who have faced the same feat. And obviously, by the way, I'm not God. I don't have I'm not saying this objectively. We're just like we're just exploring these topics. I'm kind of like playing with it and thinking out loud. But I do think that sometimes I feel like I kind of experience this as well. Like, I do think that people, not like, this is going to sound kind of like, not in like a predatory sense, but do you see children as like sort of like magic on earth? And it's kind of like what we were saying about fame. It's this unreachable sense of ultimate happiness, and you represent something that you probably are fabricating. A lot of these people, you look back and it's like, would you ever be a kid again? They probably had a really fucked up childhood. But people need something, I think, to miss and look forward to. And I think that when you grow up, again, a symbol can't grow. And now you represent all of the things that I didn't want to see in you, which is reality and adulthood and tribulations and all the things that I can relate to. But I looked for you as this child star, as kind of this reigning, angel of like, man, I remember those times, So I do think that then there's a resentment there. But who knows?
You kind of referenced this in Lion's Den, which you released like a couple years ago, and you're talking about wanting to be a kid again. Then you said, like, I go out to get fucked up just to feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very interesting line.
Yeah, that is interesting. And we talk about that a lot in Homesick, which is actually this exact topic of like, if it's not mine, it's gone forever. But then why do I remember? I'm craving arms that never held me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm craving this child bed, that might have never even existed. I remember someone asked me, they were like, what was your like ultimate like childhood perfect day? And you describe it, and the grass is saturated green and the trees just smell, it's the cleanest oxygen you've ever smelled. And he's like, did it ever happen? Are you thinking of a specific? And I was like, no, I'm actually not. I'm definitely thinking of like a happy place, Anyway.
Bjork and Fiona Apple were some touchstones for this album, at least that I could hear. What is it about those two in particular that really resonate with you?
Bjork and Fiona Apple?
Yeah.
Fiona Apple specifically writing-wise. I loved, again, what I was saying about like the way my views on art has shifted. I think it's the same with storytelling. There are a lot of different formats and there are a lot of different purposes. So like, I'm not going to be so pretentious and, write off a movie that's like some Adam Sandler 51st Dates. That's a great movie. And I think sometimes there's a purpose of going to point A to point B for your listener or watcher, and that's very valid. Like a Dua Lipa song, that's an incredible pop song. But we're going from point A to point B. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that there are other formats that are more so what I want to do that are more like, I think there is a performance art in vulnerably exposing yourself to people and kind of daring them to look at your wounds. And it's a very uncomfortable experience for both parties. And I think that that is what speaks to me in art. That's what I look for in art, of like, you are revealing what everyone keeps a secret. You know, side by side, these are, maybe even you lie to yourself. These are deep, deep, dark, intrusive thoughts, childlike moments of age regression in your apartment alone, crying in fetal position on the floor. Shit you would take to, it's like the utmost vulnerability. And I think to allow that to be seen is a really striking thing. And I think Fiona Apple personally does that for me. I specifically think of Valentine. It's one of my favorite songs. And she's like, whatever, while you were watching someone else, I sat there and I watched you and I cut myself. And there's a beauty in just the honesty of those words, you know? And I knew that I wanted that. So that's what we did.
You want to evoke that reaction? You want to, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I also think that even when I'm like now like psychoanalyzing myself in this moment, I think that the reason maybe why I gravitate towards those things is because I grew up in such protection of narrative, even within really my own household. You know, I think that people really like, we're not gonna acknowledge what's going wrong here. And I think that's also why I was always gravitated towards writing, is like, you can just say what's wrong. And even when I say like being a child, I was aware even as a kid that I was a symbol of happiness or whatever people were projecting onto me. And I did take that as a responsibility. Not at the time, I did not want to shatter that. That was important to me. And so that was another thing of like just swallowing down truth. And I think that's now why I'm so attracted to these extremist performances of just truth and honesty, because it's what I had been so like really robbed of for so long, you know?
I get that.
Yeah.
But do you fear that you're like the quest for honesty can get to a point where it's almost toxic?
Artistically, no. No, I don't. I wish I went harder on that album, way harder. My first ideas with some of these labels were like really out there. I was like, I want to go to award shows and paint blood on a white dress on the middle of a red carpet, like fucking carry around a goat with me.
What, did the shaving of your shaving of your hair have any part in that?
In what sense?
I mean, just this idea of like, I mean, also in a rebirth, a fresh start. Like there's real life meaning to that.
No, it wasn't. I think that I was really just trying to survive, and like sort of those things that I was saying of like being commemorated as a kid, and I thought it was a good thing, of sort of like almost this purity culture symbol and this like angel, and that does quickly start to have predatory undertones, and I started to feel sick about it. And I felt like I represented, like when I looked in the mirror, I represented something that made me feel, I felt violated by existence. And so I think that it was an exercise. And this is what's important about like brand new. And if we're going to go into like patriarchy and stuff like that, and why I think it's such a violently simplified like rhetoric to take of like, and now I'm at the top of the mountain and I'm a girl. And I just think it's incredibly simple because there is no card that you can play. The deck is designed against you. And that also I think is the ultimate like conversation to move. And I do think that conversation can have purpose, and that's the purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that I was trying to play a card and just kind of reject. And then I just read something very interesting. The act of desexualization is just as important as the act of sexualization. So desexualization and sexualization are both tools used as positive and negative reinforcement to kind of train these values that you have as a woman deeply instilled. You know what I'm saying? And to be desexualized and have that ripped from you is such a public shame and torture. And it's, in a way, you're just back at square one and you're just still abiding by it. It's like, and it's just kind of like there's no out, you know? And I wanted to explore that in a song, and that's why I thought about it so deeply, because how the fuck do you put all of these different components in like a 3-minute song? It's a lot.
Yeah, how do you simplify all that?
And poetry, honestly. But yeah, pretty crazy. So I feel like that was, you know, and I don't even think I knew it at the time. I think this is looking back in retrospect. I'm like, that's definitely what was going on there.
Is the art of making movies healthy for you?
Healthy how?
Mentally?
Why, do you ask?
You make movies.
Have you heard people say that it's unhealthy for them mentally?
I'm just wondering.
Because movies are, I've just never been asked that before. Movies, yeah. Movies are, wow. Like, movies are hard to make, honestly. But those bitches are making money. So, like, you do not make money off of music. So, like, you know, there's a tug and a pull there. But, yeah, no, maybe. I think it goes to anything, though. Like, some people could look at what you do and consider watching paint dry. Sitting in here with no lights, just hearing their own voice for hours and hours and hours and hours. Some people would consider that dead social battery, but you love it. So you have the, you know, stamina to do it. Some people would consider what I do. I hear people say all the time, tour singing, and they hate it.
But do you love making movies?
No, that's where I'm going with this.
To do, yeah.
So it's strenuous for me, but I can tell that it's strenuous for me because it's not my passion.
So why?
You gotta love it to do it. You have to, because you're waking up at like, I mean, truly, it's torturous, really.
So why do you sign on to Francis Ford Coppola's
Well, okay, because he's Francis Ford Coppola.
But you auditioned. You made that active decision.
No, I didn't audition.
Really?
No. My managers at the time got a call, and they were just like, Francis Ford Coppola, like, wants to meet you.
Wait. That's crazy.
And I was like, okay. And yeah, I went to just like his personal home, and there were all these like executives and producers, and I didn't know I was there, and I just sat down with him. He's like, do you want a cup of tea? And I was just like, okay. And then I was just like, hey, how are you? And he started telling me about this miraculous movie that he's making. I was just like, okay, that sounds cool. And he told me about this character, and we kind of just discussed the character. And I think that he really likes to have discussion. Luckily, I hit the lottery with that one, because some people could be offended. And I think it also goes into what I was saying about like fame. Like, I don't really view people in that way. I don't really care. I care about like creation and what you make in you as a person. And so we just kind of started discussing the movie very objectively. And then I remember he was referring to songs in the movie, and I like made a joke, and I was like, are you like thinking I'm gonna write these songs? And he was like, oh yeah, the 2 songs. Like, he already made the decision that I'm like, okay, I'm just in the movie and apparently writing 2 songs now. But honestly, that was the best movie experience I made.
I mean, yeah, to work with him is crazy. Mm-hmm. But how do you approach that role different than whatever you've done in the past, which is those 2 Disney Channel movies?
It was easy. It's easier with him.
Really?
Because, like, dude, okay, before that, I swore off of acting. I was like, I'm never doing anything ever again. And that's why it was a Coppola film, so we said yes. But I'm so happy it happened because it completely reformed my view of the process, because I never got it. Like, painting, I'm a strong believer, like, art is art is art is art. The way that I would put in like a deep bass or something, if I'm starting to say like, you know, anxiety inducing words, you take like a strong bristled brush and like go like this on the bottom, or like a contorting of tension in the body, even in modeling and photography. I understand that string, never with acting. I didn't get it. It didn't click. It didn't click for me. I didn't understand it as an art. I was like, okay, is this an art? Because I'm not feeling this at all.
Really?
I don't feel any artistic connection to this at all. And then Francis came along, and the way that he made movies is exactly how a musician would make a song. And I was like, okay, so this is how I get this. I totally get what you're doing. I get this. Because he would rewrite on napkins the whole scene in the moment. No one knew the ending of the movie as we were filming it. Because we would start doing something and then they'd be like, oh no, that's the line. And then he'd be like, no, because this is naturally happening and something is in the air taking... You know that feeling when you're creating something and like something enters the room? Yeah. It's like, this is going. This is almost like a possession.
And that's what he goes off of.
And he would identify that and feed it, like, and not be afraid of it, because I feel like that is the worst artist in my opinion. Of like that possession comes into the room, but you continue to try to control this as your like maybe your baseline idea or something that you really, really want to do. And in my opinion, you have to follow that fluidity. And he did that. It was really, really cool.
That's crazy. Because usually they don't do that on a movie set or a TV show set. It's hard.
That was, I mean, it was crazy.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
Do you like watch The Godfather before just to kind of see?
I had to.
You did?
I literally had to. Yeah, but.
Were you at Cannes when there was a 7-minute standing ovation?
Huh?
There was a 7-minute standing ovation, apparently, for the movie?
Girl, my hands are tired.
Were you there?
I was looking around the room. I was like, who's going to sit down first? I think we all equally were just like in peripheral watching each other of like, who's going to sit? It's not going to be me. It's not going to be you. 7 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. It deserved it. But it was like, I was like, after minute 5...
You're looking around like...
Sort of stretch out the wrists a little bit.
Did watching Francis Ford Coppola work change the way you approach music this time around? Or influence it at all?
Yeah. Actually, yes. Because there are huge visual components in this album that you will soon see that I think I got very fascinated naturally, and then he also fed into it with the use of like multimedia storytelling. So I have always loved production partnering with melody and words already. I think that it's an incredible thing that I can make you feel something that words can't describe. And I do think that there's like almost like an immersive subliminal aspect to that with production, with like, there are just ways to implant feelings into people. And I think that's genuinely magic on earth. But then the like, you know, growth of that was starting to also be interested in like color, symbols, and like world building in the sense of storytelling. And I really want to make something like incredibly intentional, almost like a movie that people could decipher and pick apart. And even if you don't pick it apart, your brain is picking it up and you don't realize.
It's true.
You know?
I've listened to the album a few times now, and that's true. Like, even if
you hear it audibly?
Yeah. No, if you passively listen to this thing, like you drop like really deep, like just you can passively pick up on a lot of stuff. But then if you go back, you hear new stuff every listen. It's very intricate.
Amazing. Wow.
No, it's really well done.
To hear.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to see the like visual aspect, because it really goes into that like performance art thing that I was saying.
When we first met, you had no tattoos, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, 6 years ago.
I definitely had my little thing.
One? Can you check, Dan? An elephant? You maybe had an elephant.
I definitely had.
I do remember, like.
Also, what's so funny is that I'm just like wearing a trench coat the whole time.
Yeah. You can't see any tattoos.
Why was I doing that? We don't know. I don't know. It's very Nick from New Girl.
Oh, wait, apparently you found it at your house. Wait,
someone left it at my house, and
Yes.
I just like weirdly had like a hyperfixation on it and just didn't want to take it off.
Weird.
So
like
weird.
a stranger's
And, like,
trench coat. Why would you find solace in that?
I don't know.
We should unpack that.
Yeah, that sounds like a Child Star song. But I just remember I like looked back and it doesn't even look good. Like it looks awkward. It looks like I'm wearing like a random ass trench coat.
Well, the way
It's so bizarre.
the way we shot it, you're also falling off the page, so we suck too.
You're quite literally shot from the chin up. Like, you're like,
Really?
yeah, the angle's horrendous. Who shot our show?
I don't know. This is rough.
Liked it shot that way.
I know. You came in and one of the first things you said was that you missed the brick in our studio.
Yeah.
I get it.
But
We're in a black box.
you know, cheers to transitional periods. You know, that's what we're doing right now.
So are you going to transition away from your snake tattoo?
We get rid of it?
How'd you know about that?
I just did some research.
Have I said that?
Well, yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like it's a part of like tattoo culture to like rock with it and keep it moving. But I'm really considering getting rid of that stupid thing.
I feel like we're in an era where people are getting rid of their tattoos. A lot of people are taking them off.
I know, and I'd be such a trend follower if I did it.
Pete Davidson has gotten like all of his.
I know.
Clean
That's
slate.
really strange. Hashtag cloning. I don't know if I'm buying into that. That was a joke. My God. Do you really think that I think Pete Davidson is a clone? But maybe.
Maybe he is.
Actually, who knows? Because I'm like, that if really happened.
It's crazy.
And I thought that it like sort of like fucks up your skin just a little bit. Like you have a little bit of like a white patch.
But he looks good.
And it looks like perfect.
Yeah, he looks great.
Too perfect.
Yeah, clone.
Cologne. Not real. It's not really
That's
him.
it.
It's good.
So you're heading back on the road.
Yes.
First time since 2019.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Feeling good. Really, really excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I love touring. I've always loved touring. So,
Is it easy for you?
honey, second nature. Truly, like, honestly, probably the happiest thing ever in my entire life. Truly. Always, to this day. It's like the best Molly you could ever take. It is truly, and the best part of it is it's natural and it's real. It's just like ultimate fulfillment and just happiness. It's really great. And it's been a long time.
Yeah, years. 6 years. Holy shit.
Here's some
Damn.
rust.
How do we prepare?
I don't know. I think I'm just going to like throw myself into it.
Are you going to be
See what
performing like
happens.
Moonlight and stuff, or are you going to focus on the new album?
No, of course I'm not going to be singing. It's been like 8 years. That would be, no. I feel like that'd be almost embarrassing. Maybe for like a small like acoustic fans thing, I would revisit some greatest hits.
Oh my
But
God.
on tour,
The record you
I don't know
auditioned
if
with.
that's representing.
Oh, God.
Will you play the record you auditioned with at AGT?
No.
I love that fucking song.
I will never sing that song, I don't think.
Why?
Ever. Guys, you have to understand.
I'm sorry.
People don't understand. That was my talent show.
Well,
Like, that was
It was
my
also
talent
America's
show.
talent
That
show.
is just famous. Like, would you want to sing your like 6th grade talent show?
No, but how funny it would be if
song
you walked on stage with yellow pants and sang it. That'd be hilarious.
to you.
Okay, you're right.
To you is the difference. I mean, what is it? That's like a jouster. That's like humiliation for like others'
oh,
gain.
you're the Joker.
Yeah, I don't know if I could take it there. Maybe if the Bills were really getting to a place. That's how you would know she's struggling.
Are you grateful for that experience at AGT, or are you just over it? Do you think you would have gotten here without it, or with
No. Definitely not.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with the internet and like the
yeah.
it's like the democratization of every media is happening essentially parallel to that. So
I have to be good at things pretty fast, honestly.
Or you move on?
Probably one of my like weakest qualities. I don't try for things for too. I need at least a little bit of immediate gratification. You know, I need to be like somewhat naturally good at something.
Got it. Well, did you
So-
have any validation pre AGT, like your family rooting you on? Yeah. Someone had to drive you there.
No one's rooting me on. Like, no one, I wasn't a singer. Like, no, that wasn't even a thought in anyone's minds. Me and my mom were just arguing OD. And you always see the super long lines, and she thought that it would be a fun experience to sit in the super long line and like bring a Subway sandwich.
Wait.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
That's
what?
how I went on. And then like we did it.
She's like looking for a day activity, just kill the day.
Yes. And then I won. And so obviously like
No, Grace,
that
what?
hit my family by storm. Like no one in a million years.
Had you ever played that song for somebody before that?
No,
moment?
my mom didn't know. That was a jingle that I wrote. She kept asking me to sing more songs. And then I was like, I don't have anything left to sing. But like I have this little jingle that I wrote yesterday, and it was, I don't know my name. And then I sang that, and then I don't know. The whole thing happened as I'm like 13. Our family, we're having all these family problems. Like you can imagine, this was, I look back and I'm like, how is that even real? It is really, people don't even know the tip of the iceberg of the, it's the reality of, it was crazy. It was a time.
The universe, like for some reason.
It was a time.
Your mom had, that's so crazy.
It was definitely universe stuff. And like, also I'm absolutely built for this. I love it. I love everything about it. And I always did. Beyond singing. Singing isn't what I even love most.
What do you
I
love
love
most?
creating. I love production. I love creative directing. I love all of those aspects that wouldn't have been accessible in another sense of singing. That's why I'm like, who knows? Maybe like life paths and weird things lining up are real. It's crazy.
Nobody, dude.
It's because it's bizarre. It's definitely really crazy.
Everything happened the way it needed to happen. Your mom's...
Yeah, and even the ukulele, like my mom was just like, we had au pairs stay in like our finished basement when they were displaced from homes.
Oh,
And
that's really sweet.
There was this like woman, she's like from Brazil, and she played the ukulele. I thought she was awesome. And I asked her for my birthday, and they didn't give it to me for the exact reason of what I just said. I kind of quit things, especially as a kid, if it wasn't quite, and they're like, we're not going to drop, $120 on an instrument that we just know. And then I got like a $50 check from like a grandma, and I was just like, I'm going to buy it myself, bitch.
And you did.
And I did.
And you taught yourself how to play, or?
Yeah, it's a really easy instrument. It's not really that impressive. You can like, which is what I loved about it, because you can pick it up and within 3 hours you can probably play a simple song and get that gratification. Of
Yeah, and maybe win $1 million.
and maybe even win $1 million. Who knows? The sky is the limit.
Literally.
Ukulele sales coming up. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Thanks for being here today.
Dude, thank you for having me. Seriously, this was really a reunion of a lifetime.
It made me very happy.
It's made me happy.
You're very special.
Oh, baby, you're so
Genuinely.
special. Child star.
Understand, you are a gift to this world, a true artist. Album was incredible. It really is great, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about behavioral problems, but great.
Really?
My turn to talk, yours to obey. A flame that you can't contain. Have fun with all my behavioral problems. What? Behave? No,
Have
I won't
fun.
behave.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of behavioral problems, so
Yeah.
I saw that title and I said, I can relate.
Yes.
But you
I
know
can
what?
tell.
You grow and you evolve and you mature.
You grow, you move on, you mature, child star,
Out.
nostalgic.
No, Dan
out.
used to be a child star too.
Let's all. Really?
Fuck no.
No.
You kidding me?
I could kind of see it, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I would buy it. You kind of like have that face where I feel like you could be like a,
Like a little child model.
yeah, like a Gerber baby or
Like
something.
a cherub. Interesting. Grace VanderWaal, you're very special.
Thank you, as are you.
Listen to Child Star. It's waiting for you on Amazon Music. There's a link below, okay? Also, catch her on tour. We're going to put a link to that too. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Grace VanderWaal, everybody.